Hey, Greg Silver here today. Hope you're doing well. I want to touch on the pros and cons of reading music. Um, I get students of all ages that come to study, take some lessons, and they could be, younger or older. That's all ages, right? and I usually ask them, depending on what the level they're at, do you read music? And sometimes they say yes, and then sometimes no, and or sometimes a little bit. And I think Jocko mentions this in his video. What do you mean you read a little bit? Kind of know what that means. And I usually ask them, well, if they say no, would you like to learn to read music? And I usually get a split answer. Usually about it varies. It really varies. Um, but I always try to sell them on it, and not sell them on, but tell them, basically what it's good for, and it's good for a lot of things. But I never force anybody to do it. They don't want to do it, that's fine. We'll move on without it. But a lot of times students come back when they reach a certain level, and they're like, oh, I want to work on this. And it's like, really to do this, you got to get your reading together. And it affects your playing in different ways. It doesn't mean people who can't read can't play incredibly well. There's legendary musicians throughout time. They're incredible musicians. Not that I'm an incredible musician. I'm not, but I'm a working Joe, But I started off playing professionally and when I was younger and got in my young adulthood and didn't read a note. And then I realized as I really got serious about it and started seeing the opportunities coming up for me, I got to get this together. It's the language of the music. And it's a skill you really need to do if you want to excel in certain areas. Like I wouldn't be able to teach at the level or properly, as I should put it, if I didn't know how to read. I've lost out on some really great gigs and work if I didn't know how to read. I wouldn't be able to enjoy some great pieces of music if I couldn't read. I have my own jazz quartet, and I write all the music in it, and I wouldn't be able to give it to the other musicians if I couldn't write it out. I'd have to show it to them on my bass or my upright, whatever. And that brings up another point. If students come who don't want to read and want to play upright, and it depends what you're playing, that's possible. If you're going to play classical, that's no. If you're going to play jazz, really no. If you're going to really get into it. So it's a very valuable skill. And it also, next to all of that, it helps you, I call it your musical engine, where basically you see a note, you play a note, and you're reading ahead, and the stuff's coming out. And that actually affects you when you're not even reading. That affects you when you're playing, getting that internal timing going. Now, if you can just read, there's pros and cons. If you can just read, there's something to be said about that too. Depends what you're doing. But to be a total musician, you should have the ear, be able to play by ear. Once again, in the Jocko video, he brought up a good point. I remember this clearly because I could identify at the time because I couldn't read. And he said basically, when it came time to read, it was basically a drag. But he worked hard on it and he progressed with it and he moved forward with it. And I said, no, if that's advice from Jocko, I should probably take it. So, but like he was saying, he played by ear. He moved up all the way through these things, playing professionally, doing all this stuff, and he was doing it all by ear. And that's what I was doing. But you reach a point of like, I got to read. And I think on, especially electric bass, maybe guitar too, I think so on guitar, compared to saxophone, or somebody starting off younger on upright bass and stuff, as compared to somebody starting off younger on electric bass or something like that. I don't know how you'd learn how to play sax. I don't know how to play sax. I don't know how you'd learn how to play sax without reading, or string bass or upright bass without reading, or a violin. So they get those, they learn those skills earlier. Us electric string instruments, we kind of fall between the cracks because you can listen to a record, listen to an album, and get that stuff together. Now, with the exception of tab, which is very useful, I think, but it can be used with music to show positions like, like C up here could be played there, but where should I play it? Well, if I'm working on something, should be mapped out, depending on what you're doing. not a piece of music, but like an exercise or teaching or learning. Cons of reading music. I duped you because there aren't any. They're all pros. You know what I mean? And if something you've never really thought about reading music and you're playing and stuff, give it a shot. Start slow. It's like lifting weights. Not that I'm a weightlifter, you can tell, but if you get into it, you get momentum going. You get stronger at it and keep repetitions. And before you do it, you're doing well and you're progressing. If you do a little bit, you drop it, you go back. It's like you're starting over again. But just keep at it. Be tolerant with yourself, and do not compare it to how well you play. Like if you really play, but then you're going to read at a totally different level. Don't get frustrated. It's a new part of your experience as being a musician. I hope that gives you something to think about. If you're interested in lessons, please do. I'm doing them right now on Zoom and FaceTime, and hopefully in the near future at my home studio. And contact me, the Greg Silva Music Channel, or greg@gregsilva.net. Have a great day, and thank you.